This is one of those stories that kind of starts at the end of peace, the end of trying to talk things out, and really the end of a family. It's a story all about envy and a deep-seated grievance that just spirals into this massive conflict. A conflict that's going to change everything. And it all comes down to this one single inevitable battlefield. All right, so let's get right into it. When you think of a profound spiritual text like the Bhagavad Gita, what comes to mind? Probably a peaceful temple, right? Or maybe some quiet classroom? Well, that's not where this story starts, not even close. It begins right here, on the brink of this absolutely catastrophic war between cousins. And right in the middle of this chaos, you've got these two key figures. There's the legendary warrior Arjuna, who's just completely frozen by this massive moral crisis. And then you have his charioteer, Krishna, who's about to share the incredible wisdom that we now know as the Gita. Just picture it. Their chariot is literally sitting in the no man's land between two gigantic armies, ready to tear each other apart.
But that's the big question, right? I mean, how on earth did it get this bad? How does a family feud explode into this? To really get what's about to happen in the dialogue, we've got to rewind. We need to unpack the decades of pure bitterness that pushed them right to the edge.
So to find the answer, we need to go back in time, back a whole generation, to the moment where the very first seed of this whole disaster was planted. Believe it or not, this whole thing kicks off because of an accident of birth. See, the throne of the Kuru dynasty was supposed to go to the older brother, Dhritarashtra, but there was a catch. He was born blind, and because of that, the law said he couldn't be king. So the crown went to his younger brother, Bandu. And that one event, right there, that planted a seed of resentment that would just poison this family for generations to come.
And this is where we get our two opposing sides. On one team, you've got the 5 sons of King Pandu. We call them the Pandavas. And on the other team, you have the 100 sons of the blind king, Dhritarashtra, the Kauravas. I mean, these are cousins who grew up together, played together, and now they're bitter enemies, fighting over the same throne. So for years, this rivalry was just bubbling away, just under the surface. But then, one single event comes along, and it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. It turns all that simmering tension into a full-blown inferno that no one could put out.
So the eldest of the Kauravas, this guy Duryodhana, who's just brimming with cleverness and envy, he challenges the Pandavas to a game of dice. Now, this was no friendly game. It was a total setup. A trap, really, designed to use their own sense of honor against them. The dice? Completely rigged. And one by one, the Pandavas lose it all. I mean, everything. Their kingdom, their money, their freedom. And then, in a final devastating move, they even lose their shared wife, Draupadi.
But losing the bet, that wasn't even the worst part. To completely, utterly humiliate them, Duryodhana orders Draupadi to be dragged into the middle of the court and publicly stripped naked in front of everyone. It's just an act of such unbelievable cruelty, an insult so deep that there was no coming back from it. It's only because of a divine intervention from Krishna that our honor is saved. After that, oh yeah, the hatred was set in stone.
So what was the fallout from this rigged game and this horrifying public humiliation? A brutal deal. The Pandavas were kicked out, forced into 13 long, hard years of exile, completely banished from their own kingdom.
Fast forward 13 years. The Pandavas have done their time, they fulfilled their end of the bargain, and they come back. Now, you'd think they'd be out for blood, right? But no. Instead of jumping straight to revenge, they actually tried to make peace. They really did everything they could to avoid a war. And it's kind of heartbreaking to see how every single attempt at peace was just shot down. First, the Pandavas ask for what's rightfully theirs, their kingdom back. Duryodhana says no, flat out. Okay, so they dial it way back. They ask for just 5 villages, enough to live on. Again, nope, refused. Finally, as the absolute last resort, Krishna himself goes to plead for peace. And get this, even he gets ignored.
And this next quote, wow, it just perfectly sums up the sheer arrogance they were up against. When he was asked for just those 5 villages, Duryodhana's response became infamous. He said, "I will not give them enough land to drive a pin into." A pin? After that, what else could they do? Every single door to peace had been slammed shut. War was the only thing left. And just like that, the talking was over. Diplomacy was dead. Grievances were at an all-time high.
The princes and kings from all over started picking sides, and the two massive armies began to assemble for the fight of a lifetime. Right before the fighting starts, Krishna makes this really interesting offer. He tells both sides, look, I'm not going to fight myself, so here's the deal. One of you can have my entire massive army. The other side can have just me, all by myself, as an advisor. Well, Duryodhana, being all about power and material things, he immediately snatches up the army. But the Pandavas, they make a different choice. They choose Krishna's wisdom.
And that brings us right back to where we began. The armies are lined up, facing each other on the holy battlefield of Kurukshetra. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the blind king Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kauravas, is getting super anxious. He turns to his secretary Sanjaya, who's been given this special gift of divine sight, and he asks him to describe exactly what's going down on the battlefield.
And right here, we get to the very first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the king's question. But listen to how he phrases it. It tells you everything you need to know. He asks, O Sanjaya, after my party and the sons of Pandu assembled, what did they do? He doesn't say my boys and my nephews. He calls his own sons my party. That one little word, mamakaha, reveals the whole problem. This biased, us versus them mentality that started this entire tragic war.
So all of that history, all that baggage, it all leads to this very moment. It's the perfect setup for Arjuna's epic crisis of conscience. And his dilemma, it really does echo through time, leaving us with this really tough question. And it's not just for him, it's for you, for me, for all of us. When you're faced with a situation where you have to fight your own family, the people you love, for something you truly believe is right, what would you do?